Welcome to Devlog 2 of Golden Glory, our deck building party game where players compete to be the most famous adventurer in the realm. We're a bit late on this devlog. We spent a week at GDC and met a lot of awesome people, and after GDC, I was sick, and Nate was going through a lot of life changes. But we're happy to be back on our regularly scheduled programming.
In the last devlog, we talked about connecting players over the network. Once we were able to determine how players can be connected, it was time to visualize the structure of the player's turn. Since this is a turn-based game, I noticed how each turn could be comprised of separate phases. For example, the start phase, rolling dice phase, movement phase, and an end phase. Now with board games like Trouble or Sorry, these phases are static, meaning one of these phases leads into the next without other things occurring. However, with our game, we have added the element of cards that can potentially affect these phases at any time. This could lead to skipping phases or adding additional phases, which requires a reactive system. Over the last couple years, I've been playing Magic the Gathering for the first time, and I fell in love with their system that allowed cards to react to other things happening on the board. This system helped me construct my own that allowed multiple effects from cards, players, or the board to react to different phases that occur through events. Each effect is added to a stack and called upon depending on their priority level. This gives us the ability to make sure certain effects happen before others. I then went and implemented this system, and it's been working very well.
Yo!
At this point, there's not much to show on screen as the phases are quickly changing, but as we continue through development, this will act as an important framework for the rest of the game to be built off of.
One thing that has always been important to me in video games is a sense of ownership.
I'm the captain now.
As a player, when I can get invested in my character, I have a much more engaging time. This is why my main focus for this month was character customization. I've always wanted to create a character customizer, but I've never had a project where it quite fit. So now, it was my time to shine. Customization can be a tricky system to implement, as there are so many ways to do so. With realistic character art, you might have sliders that move the character mesh to fit morph targets or blend shapes. For a more reserved system, you may have predefined looks with minimal changes, such as adding a hat. The style I landed on for our game would utilize multiple 3D meshes for each customization option. As you shuffle through them, the meshes would be turned on and off through Unity. This gave the most mix and match options for the player and was reasonable to achieve with our art style. The problem with this system is having tons of meshes that are turned on and off is very taxing. To address this, we will have the full character rig only available in the customization scene, and when the character is loaded in-game, only the appropriate customization options will remain. The rest of the meshes will be deleted from the prefab. Researching this topic brought me to Jason Wayman's video, in where he demonstrates a similar mesh swapping system. The link for that will be in the description. One thing I struggled with for the longest time utilizing this system was I wanted a living rig and engine, meaning I wanted to be able to add more customization options throughout the entirety of development. But as the system currently works, that would require me to re-import the entire rig and painstakingly set up the mesh each time. The solution I found was a script on an old Unity forum for updating skinned mesh renderers. This essentially transferred all the skinned weights from one rig to another. The changes can then be saved on the character customization prefab, and the new mesh options can be added to the appropriate customization classes. This was really amazing stuff, and I cannot thank the author enough. The link for that will also be in the description.
Let's return back to networking. The reason why networking is usually difficult is because devs have to really plan and adhere to a set of programming standards that isn't typical for a single player game development. Since each player is using their own hardware, we have to make sure that what they see is what others see, while keeping the game performant and ensuring that nobody is cheating. We don't want people getting too much gold. This felt like a very daunting task, even for someone that has networked games in the past. However, I found a really awesome tutorial going over the new Networked for Game objects by CodeMonkey that I'd highly recommend, and we'll leave a link in the description. The TLDR from the video was to use remote procedure calls, or RPCs, network variables, and server authorization to ensure that everyone will do and see the same thing. By using server authorization, this means that all checks, computations, and really anything that can be done from the server should be happening there. While the clients listen to the RPCs to know what they should do from the server, this will keep the clients from doing anything they shouldn't, as the server will be the main source of truth. As we continue developing on the game, this practice will only get easier to work with, as my code base will already be structured for networking.
My next focus was the environment art. I want the world to have a stylized look with a lot of gradient color and a whimsical feeling to it. My goal is to do a lot with a little, which you can see especially in the castle and house models. These are some of the first models I worked on and can show off a bit of what I can do with a small polygon budget and a single texture image. My major philosophy in game development is if it's a placeholder, there's always a chance it will end up in the final game. So when I look at the castle model, I see a lot of opportunity to improve, but if it ends up in the final product, it still fits cohesively with the rest of the game and art style. My final focus for the month was prototyping the card playing system in Engine. This system would require UI elements and player inputs across multiple styles of devices. Think mouse click versus drag on touchscreen. This system is fairly bare bones in its current state, as it was an exploration of what the system could look like before cards themselves are implemented mechanics-wise. I have also begun iterating on the card art and visual style. I was going for an old style parchment mixed with stone tablet vibe, and after a number of iterations, I took out the card descriptions from the card image itself and moved it to a contextual UI pop-up, which will appear after the card has been selected or hovered for a specific amount of time. The focus of the card is to emphasize the art while also communicating its cost, the title of the card, and the card type. The card art is a really important part of this game because a lot of the humor and character of our game is showcased through it. Because of this, the card art will see many iterations throughout the development of Golden Glory.
Thanks for watching. It's been awesome to see that we have a growing audience. We put a lot of work into these devlogs and are looking to release them once a month, so subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the project.
For everybody that we met at GDC,
Yo,
what's
thanks
up,
for being with us. It's so cool. The GDC was awesome. Thanks for making it awesome.
GDC was cool. Dying of the Plague was not cool. I'm like, yeah, you're done.
Yeah, man.